Dumelang, welcome to the second hour of the Clement Manyathela show. Thank you for staying with us here on 702, and thank you as always for your contributions on the 702 open line. Remember, at 11 o'clock, we're going to do our Listener's Choice feature. And today, on our Listener's Choice feature, we're going to have a conversation about budget underspending and how it affects you and I, because there are billions of rand that are allocated each year for vital services, building houses, clinics, schools, roads, and other services, of course. But year after year, we often hear of this significant portion of money that has gone unspent. The president has called this action treasonous. The Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi has taken action against some HODs for this. So it seems to be really a problem. But how does it affect us, and how do we resolve it? That's the conversation we're going to have on our Listener's Choice feature at 11 o'clock.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702.
But right now, we start our conversation with Solly Msimanga, who is the leader of the Democratic Alliance here in Gauteng. You're welcome to join this conversation as well by calling us on 011-883-0702. Alternatively, you can send us a WhatsApp on 072-702-1702. Solly, thank you so much for coming to studio. Good morning.
Morning, Clement. Thank you for having me, and good morning to the 702 listeners.
So there's a lot I want us to talk about, but I want to start off with the issue of the Johannesburg mayor, Helen Zille.
Where are you getting that from?
has the issue, how far are you with the process of electing a candidate for the Democratic Alliance in Johannesburg to be mayor?
By the 20th of September, you will know who the mayoral candidate will be, because that's when we will be launching our mayoral candidate in the city of Johannesburg.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what process has unfolded that's going to then culminate on that announcement on the 20th?
So there's quite a lot of things that happened. First of all, we did call for nominations. You would know, we even went to the public to then say we don't want to limit it to only people within the Democratic Alliance. We want members of the public who have got experience in running, either entities or who feel that, they can contribute. And then we shortlisted people in a sense of, we did some gatekeeping processes. We went through people's CVs, we vetted people, basically. And then there was people that were invited to come in for a round of psychometric testing. So we did some psychometric testing. After that, we did interviews. 2 sets of interviews, actually. And then we arrived at a decision. The last thing we did is we then gave people scenarios in terms of explaining what is it that they would want to then start fixing in Johannesburg, how will they go about it. So all of these things are things that you then go out and test, and different scores are then collated, and then you would then look at who then becomes the best candidate.
Who sits on the committee to score these
we do have independent. Let me tell you exactly what actually happened. So they would not know that they're marking Clement's script. So each script has a number. So you wouldn't know if you're marking Solly or Clement's script. You will mark those scripts. And
unless Helen Zille says, well, when I was mayor of the city of Cape Town, this is what I did.
No, you're not allowed to do that. You're allowed to specifically talk about what you will do.
That's great.
Yeah. So
so you don't do interviews?
No, you do interviews, but interviews are the last step.
Okay.
So you do all this, what we call gatekeeping processes, and then after that, then you do the interviews.
Once
and
you've shortlisted them from that, and then
yes, and then the interviews plus the scores that people would have obtained from everything else is then collated, and then that's when you will then get to a candidate.
I imagine it must be awkward interviewing your boss. Like, imagine Helen, Federal Executive Chair.
No, it's not.
Yeah?
It's not. I mean, one thing I love about the DA is that there's no boss, there's no leader, there's no chair. It's Solly, it's Helen, it's John. Because our membership, there's no gold membership. All our membership, it's 10 rand. We all pay the same amount, and we treat each other that way. And this is why when we actually then are going to interview, even when you're interviewing each other, let me call it that, you will interview a person who's Helen as the same way as you will interview Belinda, the same way as you would interview even an activist. And you don't then decide out of the blue, this is what I'm going to ask. To be fair, you then have 100 set of questions that the computer just spews out. So I don't then have to channel some kind of questions to favor a particular individual. There's questions that are generated, and then the computer will tell us, these are the questions that you're gonna need to then answer.
Okay, I'm looking forward to the 20th of September. There were reports on Sunday suggesting Helen Zille is somehow a front runner.
There are three people that are.
Can you tell us who they are?
One is unfortunately a somebody who's still in the private sector, who's still running a big entity in a business entity. The other one is Belinda, and the other one is Helen.
Belinda is the caucus leader.
Is the caucus leader
in Johannesburg.
Yeah.
Okay. It's almost like it's a done deal with Helen. But let's see.
When you want to push to that? I didn't say that.
Not really. I'm just looking at.
No, look. I mean, there's a big hype. The reality is that
there is a big hype. There is experience as well. People are playing on what she has been able to do before in the Western Cape, and of course, it's different dynamics in Johannesburg, especially also with the coalition. But we'll see on the 20th. What kind of leader, though, as the DA in Gauteng, do you think is needed for a city like Johannesburg, especially given the complexities around the coalition dynamics?
Well, in your introduction, you mentioned issues around non-expenditure. You mentioned issues of financial prudency and financial, what is the right word, of the running of government in a way that services do reach people. City of Johannesburg should actually be a multi-trillion rand city, not a multi-billion. Must be a multi-trillion rand city. You're gonna need somebody who understands that this is a big vein in the heart of the South African economy that is now clogged up. We now need to then reopen it. So you're gonna need that change agent. You're gonna need somebody that comes in and say that I'm gonna be able to, open up the closed corridors. I'm going to look at the CBD of Johannesburg, and how do we then begin to clean it up? How do we then begin to reclaim the properties? How do we begin to repurpose some of the existing infrastructure so that it then begins to then generate life back into the CBD? I walked the CBD of Johannesburg 2 weeks ago. We walked actually from Carlton Center all the way up to the old Oriental Plaza. So we walked the whole area. The decay that is there, Clement, the amount of fresh water that is just pouring out of the ground because of the pipes that are just gone, the amount of manhole lids that are gone, street lights that are not working, the traffic lights that are not working, the buildings that are hijacked. I mean, you walk on Bree Street, you walk underneath, there's supposed to be basement. I promise you, there's a place where there's a small mall inside of a basement, an informal mall. That's what you get, and you need to get somebody who has that understanding that it's not going to be an easy thing. You're going to need somebody that is going to be able to then take on the ministers and the premier and also other entities within government to then say, Minister of Home Affairs, come, let's do something about the issue of migrants who are here. You're going to need to then say to the Minister of Police, there's an issue of crime and grime in here. What are we doing about it? But you're also going to need to then ensure that you have an MMC and also you as the mayor, who is not just going to be a populist, but who can then go and say, it's going to be painful, but we're going to start enforcing bylaws. You can't just build anyhow. You can't just hijack buildings and then, put things that are not supposed to be there. You can't just open up taxi ranks anywhere. You can't just dump just about anywhere. It's an issue of management. It's also an issue about bylaw enforcement. And that all the entities within, 3 levels of government needs to come into play here. And that's the kind of person that you're going to need who understands that.
Okay. How strong is the DA in the province of Gauteng? I know that the internal polling suggests that the DA is overtaking the ANC in some key Gauteng metros.
Yeah.
But how strengthening is the position of the Democratic Alliance in this province, especially now ahead of these elections next year?
Well, our polls, and not only our polls, but we have looked at polls that are conducted by other entities as well, are showing that the DA is the biggest actually in the metros. or in urban South Africa. Now the DA is the biggest. The ANC is closely, behind. In one municipality, actually, we've surpassed the ANC. In Tshwane, we had actually surpassed the ANC by over 15%. But obviously, yeah. And in Johannesburg, it's neck on neck.
Was that before Nasipi Moya?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, things have changed, eh?
No, well, Samkelo, we train Samkelo very, very well. Samkelo plays the media very, very well. But what you do in the media space and what you do on the ground are two different things.
But people really seem to like that's funny, man.
But that's the thing. But you must then ask, what is the real thing that she's
They
doing?
think she's working. I mean, when I have her on the show, people call in and they say, you promised to fix this. I've seen that it's fixed. You promised to deliver this. I see that it's delivered.
Okay.
So people point to things that have happened that the mayor, and I'm not saying she's perfect.
Yeah.
I'm just saying my barometer is the people that I broadcast
then
to.
if you are then saying that is the case, let me tell you what is the biggest test that is reliable. Is when you go and fight by elections. Mm-hmm. That's when you then say that your popularity is actually then...
It's not translating to the votes.
Yeah. If you are a mayor of a city and you cannot even fight by elections in your own city, what does that tell you?
Are they losing by elections in Tshwane?
They don't fight by elections because they don't have structures to contest by elections.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that come the local government elections, people are not going to go and vote for.
Well, but it takes more than just being on, coming to radio, or going on social media, or releasing statements. It takes a lot about doing things right on the ground, yes, but it also talks about a lot of programs that needs to be done, that you go out there and do what needs to be done from a political perspective and also from an administrative perspective. Look, I mean, there's quite a lot of things that the DA had actually then put in place, and when we were there, and she was part of it, and she was
deputy mayor, right?
Yeah, and she it's almost like go for the longest hanging fruit and cut the ribbons here, there, and there, and then make noise about that. I mean, you talk about the refurbishing of the power stations that we started, under Brink and Themba Fosi. You talk about some of the economic projects that were on the way that are now coming to fruition. Obviously, she would then claim those. But what I find very funny is that when it's all good, then they want to claim it. But when things are not that good, no, it's not our fault.
But you guys do the same thing as the DA. You've got ministers who came in the national government, and then they busy cutting ribbons and launching things that were actually started with the previous administration.
You must ask then what stole them. In this instance, I can tell you
they were not stalled at all.
Yeah,
some of them were not stalled.
There were things that were stalled. The drone project, as an example, it was a project that had been stalled.
Which the Home Affairs project?
It was a project that had been stalled.
Well, but the Minister of Home Affairs at the time will tell you when they started the process and why they were not able to launch it at the time before they were taken out of office.
Well, that's the whole thing, Clement. I'm saying that it's you can't want to then claim the good and not the bad. And
True.
this is the point.
But I suppose the point I'm trying to make is the DA doesn't come and say, the DA creates an impression that, oh, look, the minister just started there, a DA minister, and look at what we were able to do. There's no context given that actually Basic Education Minister at the time, Angie Motshekga, started this program and Siviwe Kahube saw it through. There's no context like that. So Latswana.
No, not really. There are, when we got in, there are certain things that we normally propose. Even now, I can tell you, I can show you a document that we had proposed to Panyaza to deal with issues of safety and security, issues to deal with the infrastructure that we said this is what needs to be done, right? And some of them, because they come from the DA, they never get to be implemented. 2-3 years down the line, you somehow find it snuck in somewhere, and then it gets to be introduced as this the next best thing after sliced bread.
And
while we had actually, and then
like what?
So I'm telling you, I'm giving you examples. So we now have said what needs to be done because we've been to each and every of the 146 police stations in this province. I've been to every single one of them. I've seen what is happening there. I've spoken to the police. I've spoken to the business people. I've spoken to the residents who are affected by this, right? Yeah. And we then put a report together. And we then wanted to meet up with Panyaza. We actually then gave a part of that to his office because he wouldn't meet up with us. And we even took it to the chairperson in the safety portfolio in Parliament, because this is what we found out, and we are making certain suggestions in terms of what needs to be done in terms of dealing with the vehicle shortages in this police the police stations. They've centralized everything. That you find that vehicles have to go to Silverton when a car is supposed to be in Roslyn, as an example. So it's there for over a year over a small thing. These are kind of things that we've picked up, and we've then put a document that also then begins to then say, but this is what you can then do to fast track some of these things. What are you
proposing exactly?
So there's a number of things. There are certain police stations that don't have holding cells, right? Yeah. In Gauteng, you have police stations that don't have holding cells. You have police stations that don't have working telephone lines. So you call a police station, you're not going to get an answer. So if you don't have a number of a constable or a sergeant in that particular police station, you're not going to get an answer. You would have police stations like in Acacia, and it's one of the worst when it comes to infrastructure. And they're trying, big ups to the men and women in blue in that particular police station, but the kind of hardships that they have to work through. First of all, when you drive in there, you have to walk through sewer to get into a police station. You get into a police station, you get taken into a boardroom that is part charge office, part boardroom, part, where they do their morning drill, pass out, part where, if there is somebody who's coming to report a GBV case, that person is somehow taken into that space as well. So, these are the kind of things that you come across. So, and there's also a lot of police morale that is actually then hit rock bottom. So we are then saying there's quite a lot of things that can be done in terms of fixing the infrastructure that is there, the buildings themselves, fixing connectivity of the police, fixing the availability of resources and better training of the police. And also talking about the issue of ensuring that vehicles are a priority and they become available, and also to then lessen the amount of cases per detective. Right now in Gauteng, if I tell you this, Clement, that you have police that on average each police detective is carrying close on 200 cases an individual, and some police stations you have police detectives that don't even have space to even keep their dockets there. They have to then keep their dockets in another police station, drive 15, 30 Ks to go and access a docket. And you wonder why some things never gets to be resolved. The cases never gets to be concluded. It's those kind of things. And these are things that we said we've picked up. We've put a document, that talks to these kind of things and what are the solutions that we propose.
Is that the right office to send it to, though? Because some of those are on the ambit of national.
I agree with you, but we have said that the biggest challenge that we're sitting with is this, Clement. We've always had an umbrella approach to crime in South Africa, or the policing in South Africa. But the reality is that the circumstances of Johannesburg will be different to the circumstances of Limpopo, will be different to the circumstances of Northwest and any other, and even the Western Cape. Yeah. And therefore, we need to be talking about how do we decentralize the running of police. Panyaza should be allowed or should be capable of having to appoint enough personnel, equip them, to deal with the issues that are here. We have gangsters in certain parts of Gauteng. We have issues of Zamazama. I mean, Johannesburg is falling apart in the ZBD because there are people who are digging underneath Johannesburg as we speak. There's issues around, hijacked buildings. We need units that can talk to that. Certain parts of Gauteng still has the highest amount of GBV cases. Then, you don't have police that are trained to then deal with the victims when they do come in, the empowerment centers, and all these things. You can then say you would have a minister at a national level making, strategies around what happened in each and every each province. We need to then have a provincial centered police and strategy, and that is what we have been pushing for.
The devolution of powers.
The devolution of power from a national to a provincial perspective. And then from there to also then ensure that because you already have these metros, how do we then empower the metros with the police that they have to then multiply the force that you have, and then not only have them as just being traffic calmers or traffic watchers, but they can actually then deal with issues of bylaw enforcement. They can deal with issues that we now need to then look into.
The national government often, when this issue of devolution comes, they say we are well aware of those needs of the different provinces. So when they resources are being allocated, it's based on the needs of each province. So there's no blanket approach of here's 10 billion rand or 100 million rand for each and every province for policing. You look at the needs.
Well, if that is the case, why is Hammanskraal not having a Hammanskraal that has to serve plots, not having a proper high-rise vehicle that is able to then go off-road into the plots? Why is it that you would have the police that are in the Western municipality not able to then have equipment that will then allow them to go into the ground and deal with people that are digging and being active under the mines illegally? Why is it that you would have certain police stations that are not having your victim empowerment centers, while you have the highest number of cases reported in those police stations? So that tells you that we are not really addressing the real problems. I can tell you right now, the fact that you've actually even centralized so much, this is why you would have police saying there's a vehicle that is out of commission because there was just something wrong with the brakes or something like that, and the vehicle has been out of commission for over 280 days. That is not acceptable. And why would you then have a police station like Karankua that had to go on for over a year without having telephone lines? And in certain instances, you don't even have holding cells. Akasi is an example of that. You don't have holding cells in that particular police station. If they're already short on vehicles, they arrest somebody, that vehicle is now out of the precinct into another precinct for almost 2 hours because they have to then go process somebody. What happens then when you don't have visible policing? These are the kind of things that we are saying you can't look at them from a national perspective. You need to then break it down and say each province must be empowered to look at what are the issues in their own province. Empower even the provincial commissioner even much more in terms of the appointments, in terms of the strategies that needs to be employed, and then the resources thereof. Yeah,
in fact, there's someone here who says, "Hi Clement, Solly there is talking about where I'm at Lenasia. We don't have holding cells. In the event of complaining or serving a court order, you'll be told to wait as they are having one van."
702.
The Clement Manyathela Show.
Let's walk the talk.
23 minutes before 11 o'clock, we're in conversation with Solly Msimanga, who is the leader of the Democratic Alliance in Gauteng. I'm taking your calls on 011-883-0702. Your WhatsApps as well. Solly, I'll ask you to put on your headphones, and then we're going to take some WhatsApps on 072-702-1702. Let me start with some tweets, though, that have come through. Lindy says, "Hi, Clement. Solly sounds like a guy who knows what he's doing and what should be done. Is our DA saying he's not good enough? He was once put forward as a mayoral candidate for Joburg. Why not this time around?" Were you a mayoral candidate for Joburg at some point? I don't remember that.
For Joburg. No, and also...
why didn't you put your hand up?
There's a lot to be done at the provincial level at this point in time. Okay. I still have 2 tricks that is coming up for the provincial legislature.
All right.
So I need to see that through.
All right. Floyd says, "Clement, the current mayor of Tshwane stole the DA PR playbook, and now Solly Msimanga is busy crying foul. The DA does the same thing everywhere all the time. Politicians are all the same." And then let's go to Masinya, who's calling us from Tembisa. Masinya, good morning.
Good morning, Madimecha, Solly and the team there. Bona Madimecha, man. I normally don't believe too much in polls, but this time around, I agree with the DA. I mean, people here in Tembisa, not only they resonate with the DA's offer, but they say we want to see DA more. I mean, crime, Madimecha, starting with crime. Criminals are so brazen and emboldened. Last week, Saturday, we're celebrating the birthday of Mpoma Fule, our late brother, posthumously. And as part of people who are organizing that, my first concern was the safety of the people who will come there. I mean, fortunately, there was a private company that partnered with us. In Tembisa, there are all gates all over the place without even following the bylaw and the processes. You know why? Because of the crime. People accept that the ANC has failed and they want the DA. I agree with the poll. The DA must do the right thing when they govern. Thank you.
Thank you, Masinya in Tembisa. Musa, you are in Pretoria. Good morning. Hi, Musa.
Hello, Clement.
Hey, Tada.
Thank you, my brother. I want Solly to tell us one thing because some of us get confused. We like how they are doing, but there is one issue that confuses me: illegal immigration. I hear elements in the DA. They are supporting this illegal immigration. Those people are our resources are being exhausted, and they don't say anything about this illegal immigration that we are suffering under here. I want him to tell us categorically before I vote for them, what are they going to deal with the illegal immigration?
Okay. Let's hear from him. Musa in Pretoria, thank you. Solly?
Yeah, let me put it very, very clear, with Musa. We are not for illegal immigration. In fact, this is why we actually now working on strengthening our ports of entry. This is why we are saying people who want to come here, we must know who you are, where are you coming, where are you going to stay, what are you bringing, and all of that. That's the first thing. We were the first to propose that actually we need to be building embassies of people that are not from South Africa, who are treated at our hospitals, who are at our schools. We've been saying that. But comrades were saying, no, that's not African, blah, blah, blah. And this is why now we have a situation like what we have. So it's not true that the DA has been, against, the removal of illegal immigrants. What the DA is against is the inhumane manner, which is only meant for TV from time to time, because you get people who would go and yank people out of clinic lines, and we have seen the latest where somebody literally just died because this person is supposed to get TB medication and they were taken out of a line by certain organizations just for the TV, right? We are against that. We are saying, comb the country, know who's in your country. If they are there legally, yes, that's fine. If they are here illegally, then you need to then go through a process in which you are able to then say, is this person qualifying to be here? Or then they now need to then, go and apply. But don't look at it from just that angle, Clement, because that is just a populist thing. And we have seen one minister, who wanted to be popular for their own party, going to the borders and saying, no, I want to know how many people are coming in. The issue is, how do you then regulate the flows of people in and out? Where people want to then apply from? What do you do when you're there? How do we then secure our own borders? Why did we even take the SANDF from patrolling our borders? Why did we bring in the BMF that is not as resourced as they're supposed to be? Be? So to talk about a problem that is already in the country, but without talking about how do you prevent further problems from occurring, I think that's where the conversation needs to be taken at. But to put it categorically, we are against illegal immigration. We are for people coming here that are bringing investment, that are coming in to do work, but they qualify for.
Yeah.
And that, we can actually look at certain skills that might not necessarily be here, and you would know there's never a country that has ever prospered on the basis of its own people.
And our laws are clear as to when you can actually look outside, right? You have to exhaust.
There you
also
go. But also, we used to have something called Lindela. You remember there used to be Lindela?
Yeah, it's still there.
But what happened to it? There used to be buses that used to go around, buses that would go around and make sure that people are picked up that are not supposed to be there. What happened to that?
Do you think, though, because Panyaza Lesufi announced, the Gauteng Premier, the other day, that they are going to go to, I think they announced a number of informal settlements, most of which are inundated with illegal foreign nationals, and they're saying we're going to go and start working on those informal settlements. Do you support the idea of actually going out to informal settlements where they are mostly illegal immigrants and take them to Lindela and they must be taken home?
Well,
because a lot of them take advantage. And of course, there are some immigrants who are here and circumstances push them here, right?
Yeah.
They're looking for asylum, etc. And sometimes getting that at Home Affairs is difficult because there's so much corruption.
Yeah.
So people end up being here without papers, not because they don't want to get papers, but because getting a paper means paying a 10,000 rand bribe,
which they don't have. Yeah.
But as it stands now, would you support the idea of going to informal settlements, people that are here illegally? Because some people do take advantage of our laws.
Yeah.
Because they are so lackluster.
And this is why I said to you to make noise and to just jump in front of the cameras when Clement is there interviewing and says, yeah, I'm going to do this. It's one thing, Clement. But to fix the things that enable wrongdoing to take place is the hardest thing. There are laws in our country. By the way, you can't have asylum seekers just coming in, or somebody who's seeking asylum status in your country opening up businesses everywhere. You can't have that, right? But go and look at how many Pakistanians actually come into the country on that ticket. Asylum. And then once they're here, they run major businesses all over, right? And I'm not wanting us to then target a particular group here, but I'm just saying the issue is, how do we then deal holistically with the systems that are in place? You gave an example about somebody who's rightly applied or legally applied, but it's taking forever for them to get an answer. They end up then resorting to wrong things. So you deal with those things, first of all. And then once you've done with that, you then say, police, I need to then ensure that I'm able, when I do a sweep, we're able to then do a sweep, and we're able to then permanently then be able to then, patrol and make sure that these things don't reoccur.
Not even resources.
But again, that's the point that I'm coming to. If there's no resources, that's the other issue. But also there's no resources even at the point of entry. That you take somebody out, but I promise you, in a month's time, some of them even brag. They say, no, I'm going home, I'm taking money home, I'm taking, groceries home, I'll be back here.
Even when they get repatriated, some of them will submit themselves to authorities so that they send them to Lindela so that they can get a free bus.
They go home and then they're back here. But that's the point that I'm making. And when I was in the city of Tshwane, one thing that frustrated me is this. We arrested three gangs or three groups. One was dealing in prostitution in Centurion. One was dealing with vehicles around the Watlu area. And then the other one was dealing with drugs. And all of them were run by, one was run by the Nigerians. The one, no, not in Silverton, in Pretoria West. The one for vehicles was in Silverton, in Pretoria West. That one was run by Ghanaians, right? And every time these guys will be arrested, the next time you come and do a raid and arrest, it's the same people again. So Panyaza can talk about going into these informal settlements and dealing with removing people. But if you're not going to have a system that talks to all the other departments that are supposed to be involved in this, I promise you, all you're going to be doing is you're going to be arresting people, you're going to be removing people. In a month's time, the same people are going to be back, because it's not sustained, but it's also not talking to all the departments that are supposed to be spoken to. And that's where, even yesterday, we said, well, we would support the idea, because you asked me that. Will we support the idea? We support the idea of removing people that are illegally occupying spaces that they're not supposed to be occupying. But then also, it should not just be for show. It should not just be a 5 minutes thing that, we are seen to be doing something for the camera, but after a week or two or a month, we're back to square one, because then we haven't done anything.
All right. I've got some more questions coming through. We'll get to them after the break. It's 13 minutes before 11.
The Midday Report.
Weekdays,
12 to 1.
Why have you decided as the MK party to file a formal complaint?
The MK party is a party that respects the rule of law. We cannot have a situation where when we take power, then the rand is going to tank, because now it's all these reckless, irresponsible people that are destroyers that are taking over. Self-interest activities like this one. This is a DA self-interest issue that is being articulated using a cabinet position. This is abuse of office.
Ms. Mani.
The Midday Report,
With Mandy Wiener.
12 to 1 on 702.
702.
South African municipalities face tough challenges every day, from infrastructure breakdowns to service delivery protests, through the International City and County Managers Global Exchange Program and the Talent Management Seminar. Local government leaders gain new ideas, proven solutions and international partnerships to bring real change back home, because when municipalities work better, communities live better.
What does extraordinary mean to you? Is it factories and warehouses that run themselves, or monitoring your assets in real time? Vodacom Business has connected more than 11.1 million IoT devices to enable smarter business, AI, cloud, enterprise apps, IoT and security. One seamless ecosystem. Search Vodacom Business IoT. Together, let's build the extraordinary. Vodacom Business. Further together.
That's the sound of your business growing. Whether you're starting out or scaling up, turn your passion into profit with Capitec Business Banking. Save up to 50% on fees. Get fast credit approvals, personalized support, and Forex for your business. Open your business banking account on our app. Bank on better with Capitec, the business bank for everyone. Capitec is an authorized FSP 4669. T's and C's apply.
Backed by popular demand, legendary jazz icon Kenny G will be performing at the Super Bowl at Sun City on Friday, the 3rd of October. Get ready for an unforgettable night of timeless hits and pure musical magic. Get your tickets from webtickets.co.za. Brought to you by Breakout Events and 702.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702.
10 minutes now before 11 o'clock. We're just about to wrap up our conversation with Solly Msimanga, who's the leader of the Democratic Alliance in Gauteng. Hlengani says, Clement, and Solly there, I would like to vote for the DA candidate in my ward, but what I have noticed is that there's no DA visibility in the townships. How is the DA going to solve this? That's a message from Hlengani. He doesn't tell us which township.
Yeah, I would have wanted to know, because my constituency, we each have a constituency. My constituency, Atteridgeville. Go to Atteridgeville. I can tell you where you can meet us every weekend. If you have issues, I can give you the contact details of our councillors, or even our peer councillors in those areas, or even people that we call coordinators that are able to then assist you. If you can let us know, exactly where, we might be able to connect you with the right people.
Yeah, Hlengani, send us a WhatsApp and tell us which township you are based at. Here's some WhatsApp voice notes.
I don't even know why the DA is contesting the mayoral position in Joburg. I mean, these guys have failed in Cape Town. I mean, if you look at Guguletu, Khayelitsha, people are dying every day at the Cape Flats. What have they done there? So they're coming here to do what? What difference will they make in Joburg? I mean, they must first fix Cape Town and then come talk to us. We're not talking about the affluent suburbs in Cape Town, Norman, Lombardy East.
Short Clement. Solly must tell us if they believe that Helen Zille can fix the city of Johannesburg. What strategy do they have for Soweto, because it's greater part of Johannesburg? If they failed to fix the townships in Cape Town but concentrate on the suburbs, what will make them change here? They're only going to focus on the CBD. What happens to the townships of Johannesburg? Thank you.
Hi, Clement. It's amazing how the DA has an ability to remove themselves from anything that is bad that's happening in government, as if they're not or haven't been in government. We've seen them remove themselves from issues when it comes to national governance, as if they're not part of the GNU. We've seen them remove themselves from issues in Tshwane, as if they haven't been in charge of Tshwane for the past probably decade. We've seen CDS brings tweets blaming Dr. Nasipi Moya for problems, for things that have happened when the DA was in charge, even when he was in charge. It's amazing how they can just stand over there and point fingers like they had nothing to do with anything. They are innocent. They are the fixers of everything. They have never been in a position to provide a solution for anything. It is just an amazing talent.
Bongani from Brodiport. Clement, this guy is brilliant. He's brilliant. He answers so eloquently, besides the eloquence, but then the things that he's talking about make sense. It makes sense, and he's genuine. It's like it's coming from the heart. It's like he loves the city, and this is different from what we've seen in the past. This is very nice.
Very nice, they say. How much did you pay that guy to call in?
I want to respond quickly.
Yeah, by the way, Hlengani says he's based in Vosloorus.
Vosloorus. There is somebody, there's Katuchelo Rasilungwane. If you can maybe send me the details, I can connect you with it. But let me respond. Yeah. I challenge the person who says the DAs remove themselves from government failures to point at what failure has the DA removed themselves from. And I'll promise you I can give you a document every single time of things that we would have proposed that either should be rejected or gets to be put on the back burner. So I think, getting context or actually having facts helps when you're calling in onto a public space and then making, comments. You speak about, Celia Brink, blaming Nasipi for certain things. Nasipi knows, because Nasipi was part of government, was sitting on the executive committee when decisions are taken. And when now she wants to then claim that certain things were never discussed or never done while she had been part of those meetings, that's what Brink normally brings up, to then say, but hang on, you were there. I'll give you an example. When they issued that unpopular decision, which then came to be proven to be the right one, where the city said we don't have enough money to give increases. What happened? There was a lot of hullabaloo. The city was almost in flames. Waste was not being removed. But Celia Brink stuck to the guns. And Nasipi was part of that government at that time. And now they're reaping the rewards of being able to then save money and be able to then not only pay more in terms of salaries, but also to then be able to then, deal with other projects. So, we can go on the whole day about these things. I would have loved for somebody to then come and tell us, what that means when they say that the DA is removing themselves from the failures of government. And then there's the issue around the strategy for Soweto. The strategy for Soweto, and somebody responds to then say, what have you done in the Cape Town? I can tell you right now, go and look at the stats and look at where, the biggest amount of, formalization has taken place of informal settlements. And where there's a whole lot of influx of people, to those formalized services, it's happening where the DA is actually then in government. So I think it's propaganda that is not going to wash. Before, the DA used to be blamed to say, no, you'll bring back apartheid if you're part of government. We are in government now. We're fighting for things that are working towards excluding people. We're fighting for the poor. This is why we fought against VAT. This is why we said, we will stand here, we'll make sure that services are going to where they're supposed to be. So the strategy around Soweto, Soweto needs infrastructure that will support the economy of Soweto. I met with young people in Soweto, twins in Soweto. One of them has studied engineering, is an engineer, a mechanical engineer. Another one is a chef, a qualified chef. They are sitting in a corner. I sat with them. I actually have a tweet about them. One is saying, if you go to the Orlando industrial area, I should be there fixing vehicles, but now it has been hijacked by people that are not even from South Africa, right? The other one is saying, I should be there working in a culinary place where I can actually then be doing, great things, but I cannot because the people that are there are not from here, as an example. So what we now need to then do is to then say, how do we then reclaim some of the spaces that can actually get the economy going? How do we then ensure that we deal with the issues of safety and security, but also there is a budget? Clement, let me give you a shocking stat. By their own admission, Johannesburg is only able to then do less than 100 kilometers of road maintenance a year. Less than 100. Do you know what is the required standard? 1,200.
They don't have the money.
But that's the thing. It's not the issue of not having the money. It's the issue of then cutting things that you can then do without.
But I do know that even during the DA's tenure in Johannesburg,
no. At that time, we can actually then prove to you that there was an attempt to get to 8% of maintenance.
Enough,
no, it was not. Do you know what is the current now? It's less than 2%.
I know, but the point I'm trying to make is throughout. In fact, because I've spoken a lot about this on the show, no administration has taken the issue of maintenance seriously enough to increase the budget for it.
Well,
2%, 8%.
This is why nothing. I said that you're going to need to then do some unpopular things going forward.
Yeah.
Do we have, the question that we're going to need to then answer is this. Do we have the right people in the right places doing the right things? What do I mean by that? in certain instances, you have bloated departments that do nothing. In the city of Johannesburg, you have 11 entities, right? You have 11 entities, and you still have the departments that are doing what these entities are supposed to be doing, and both are failing. Why should we then be paying people millions of rands every month as consultants and people on the side, while we can then use that money to then beef up the departments that are in existence and then make sure that those departments then do what needs to be done? Why can we not have people signing performance management contracts that then says, as a HOD, if you fail to expend that amount of money, if you fail to do what the Auditor General has raised in terms of your audit, outcomes and expenditure, then you cannot retain your job. But that doesn't happen. And this is something that Panyaza is saying, well, he's taking action off. But he hasn't. All he's done is actually then play musical chairs.
He did take action against some of the
Where are they? Is there anyone who's fired?
There's one who was suspended.
No. There's nobody who's fired. People are moved from one department to another. That is not taking action. That is actually playing musical chairs. Okay. What you needed to do is to
Sorry, 1 second. Can I keep you for a few more minutes? Sure. So I give you a more chance to explain your point. Because I'm late for the news now. 6 minutes after 11 o'clock. Dumelang, welcome to the third and final hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. Thank you for staying with us here on 702. We still have the DA leader in Gauteng, Solly Msimanga. I asked him to stay for just 5 more minutes. And then we'll let him go. Solly, you were making a point about the Premier of Gauteng and the issue of underspending, and you were arguing that there actually is no proper accountability.
So we're sitting here, there's 177 forensic reports that we said they must be made public. Initially, he went around and said, they don't exist. I've made this up. We gave them the case now. We gave them the forensic numbers. He said they didn't exist. We went to the public protector. We went to the information regulator. Still, I can give you in black and white what they responded and say they don't exist. Then later on, they gave documents that were heavily redacted, that only talks to memos and not the forensic reports, memos. And we're still taking this on. But the point I'm making here, Clement, is this. You cannot continue with the same people doing the same things and expect different results. What you need to do is to make sure that you look at all the departments, the worst performing departments, in terms of expenditure, in terms of supply chain management issues that they don't comply with. And you'd realize, as we speak, Gauteng is sitting with 4.3 billion rand of irregular expenditure. 4.3, that's no small change. The Department of Health, as an example, is actually sitting with 1.3, if not 1.8 billion rand of outstanding invoices. And you wonder why you go to hospitals and to clinics, there's no clean linen or there's no medication and all these things. Now, these are things that we now need to then look at and say, are we really doing the right things? Are the people that are the accounting officers doing the right things? And to then move them from one department to the other is not really, incentivizing doing good, Clement. Because of then, the same kind of challenges that they were involved in one department then gets to then be transferred over to the next one. And this is why we are saying there needs to be some serious action that is taken and not, doing musical chairs, because that is not really dealing with the situation.
Yeah. Will you, is there still an opportunity for you to join the provincial government of unity?
We've made it very, very clear. We're open to discussing, we're open to negotiations, but we're not open to be rubber stampers of bad decisions. That is very clear. So if they want us to engage, we've put on the table. It's not about positions. It's not about the number of positions we get. I've made that very, very clear. But it's about how do we then turn the machinery of government. One of the things that I liked that day, we call him Kolobe, Jacob Mamabolo, said yesterday, and this is something that we raised a number of times. Yesterday in a sitting, admitted that part of the reason why there have been great failures in government project is that there is no proper project management, there is no proper contract management. This is why you'd have people like what happened in Bree Street. People come in and do work and then get paid, and then the work is left, and then you have to go get another contractor and you have to pay somebody else to do the job that you have already paid for. So these are things that they're now admitting that are failures. And this is things that we have been saying for the longest of time. Let's look into these things before we then say we can work together, because we don't want to be blamed at the provincial level of perpetuating the failures of government. We want to come in, we want reforms to be brought in, and this is what have been, at the minimum what we've been asking of the ANC.
Yeah, someone says, Tsepo says, Clement, Solly is saying that the current administration in Tshwane is benefiting from Celia Brink refusing to increase salaries, but Tshwane Council approved a 5-year salary increment pact for workers after, of course, they had been protesting and they had to be forced to do so. So that's not something to celebrate.
No. But you see, in part of the agreement, they say that every year you can actually have a review. And that's what Tshwane did. And this is why in court it was actually then enforced. So it's not as if it was a legal thing to then say this is what is going to happen. It says on the availability of funds to then be able to then carry that through. So you don't go. Let me tell you what happened if you go to Mfuleni, because I happen to sit also on Kokta at the provincial level, right? In Mfuleni, they're now taking money that is supposed to be going towards fixing roads, that is supposed to be going towards building infrastructure. They're paying salaries because you've allowed the escalation of salaries to a point where the only amount of money that you have is for that. You cannot even remove waste in certain areas because you cannot pay for your trucks. You cannot pay for diesel. You cannot pay, for service providers. And you only pay municipal workers in certain instances who are not actually even doing anything. They are sitting there because the trucks are not, working. The service providers have attached some of the assets there. So this is something that you're going to need to look at. And this is why I was saying to you, Clement, we're going to need to then make some uncomfortable but necessary decisions at some point, where you then going to say, what has been happening cannot continue to happen. We need to put a stop on some of these things. We need to then be unpopular in order to do the things that will benefit the majority of the residents in the long run.
Yeah, but if you don't pay people their salaries and increase the wages only to be forced by the bargaining council, that doesn't help you.
No, but the bargaining council agreed. Because at that year, it was agreed that they will look into the following year. It was
because there was no money in that current year.
Yes, in that current year, there wasn't. And let me tell you what happened, and to show you that this, what I'm talking about, works. Celia Brink went back and said, we will raise this money because there's a dead book. We will fix meters. We will ensure that we save water in terms of fixing the meters that are leaking or pipes that are leaking. Let's save water so that we don't have to pay rainwater and we don't have to pay Eskom exorbitant amounts of money. Let's go and collect on the dead book, reduce the dead book, save money, and then you will be able to then have salaries. Guess what? That is what happened. You were able to then save a whole lot of money to build up a kitty that when the salaries were supposed to then be increased, there was money to do that comfortably. That's what you need to then do. You don't go and do what Mfuleni has done. You increase, yet at the same time, you're increasing with a decreasing amount of your ability to provide services on the other end.
Solly Msimanga, let me thank you. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much, sir.
I will see you on the 20th of September when you announce Helen Zille as the candidate.
So you say, so you say, Clement, so you say.
Thank you, Solly. It's 13 minutes after 11.
Hanging out with Clement
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.